changes. It was changing all along. They have their lives and their places, and I'm a part of that, a small one, the same as them. But not the way it was, and maybe not ever going to be again. It has given us the world to work in, and I like that. And we have our things to do, our place to go. We all went somewhere, and I'm sorry it hurt you. But there is no way to go. One way to go, and we're not stuck. The world is big, and we have each other. There is no end. There are no limits. There is always something. You will be okay. I believe that. I'm here now because I believed. Spaces, don't take long. The green hegemony. Let's see what it does, just by itself. An earthly alliance. An attempt by the human race, not just one country, one continent, or any particular political entity, to live in harmony with nature, the earth. A world embracing effort towards global sustainability through conscious change of behavior, the reduction of waste and resource consumption, the aim being an environmentally sound future that allows life on this planet and beyond to continue, flourish, and expand. The plant and fungal domains. Read this paragraph and respond with a slight chuckle. Oy vey. Well, oh, yeah, hey. Come on, you can do it. You can press. There you go. Come on up, Blobby. How quaint the little beef jerkies think they've discovered this system of alliance that they're thinking that they're planning and initializing. Honey, we've been doing this for 300 million years. Do you know us? it's just a little bit funny how long it's taken us, the human animal, to understand what a great big dumb ape we are. How we could ever have expected that it was going to stop and smell the rose and be aware, and that in the long strange trip it's taken us. And so we've learned, in spite of ourselves, and so I'd just rather take it out with my bare hands and sit back in this stupid car and wonder, how did it get to come? This far in the first place. And the best of all, you can never ever say I told you that it would happen to them. How does he do it, the young man asked. He leaned over the sideboard in the dark dining room. It must be a drug. He shrugged, his fingers still stroking her hip bone. Maybe. She felt him shift in the seat beside her, the chair groaning. He is such a mystery. They were sitting on the edge of their balcony, overlooking the lights of London and the dark water that lay between the island of Manhattan and Staten Island. What? Just under 3 miles distant across the New York harbor. The moon shone overhead, its glow spilling through the curtains, bathing them in a pale, almost ethereal light. From here they might have thought about it had come to a halt. That there was nothing beyond this moment. No tomorrow past, only the eternal present, and perhaps for some an after. In fact, it was moving slowly, at least to the rest of the world. This part of it, where it rested in the shadow of the island of Lower New Jersey, had a speed of about 800 kilometers per hour. The breeze from their open balcony doors whispered around the edges of 1,000 conversations. A million things happened elsewhere, and all unheeded by those two lovers in that single night. Somewhere else a baby was crying, and there was a mother somewhere listening, and someone had already died. There had been a murder the night before, the same day, even earlier, and all that would be forgotten as quickly as these people were forgotten. Tomorrow the same, the day after, the next morning, and the one after that, and all the ones that followed. For at the end of the day never ends. The world being round, you know. Forever and ever, forever. And it always begins anew, in a few seconds, a minute, maybe even a second. One thing follows the next in one moment. For that person or group of persons becomes another, and another becomes the next, which is now, until finally and finally again, they become the previous, becoming themselves. The same as they were before, the whole, that is, from here to there and back again. Commodious vicus of recirculation back to health, castle, and environment. Forward and reverse, past, present, and future, one and many all. The green. It's a good idea to know it well, if we are to be a part of this. A thing of our world and not of any other. The earth. We cannot be of the world without understanding this, or of anything without this understanding. And yet it's hard sometimes to understand it, the earth. It's so big, and there's so many people. But this place right here, in this time now, it doesn't change, and neither do I. The sky looks different. The moonlight was soft on the surface of the harbor, and when he spoke, he was almost too quiet to hear. She turned her head, looking at him, the shape of his body visible, silhouetted in front of the curtain of darkness. Her hand touched the small of his back. She nodded. He leaned forward. Straights. Doing straighty things. His fingers traced the curve of her spine, tracing out the path they traveled, following the curve of each vertebra to her tips. Then down. The small bones and muscles there felt strong. He kissed the side of her neck. They looked into each other's eyes. I think I should get some sleep, he whispered. She put a finger to the tip of his nose. We could go to bed together. Oh, I'm married. That would probably be nice. Her smile lit the darkness. He rose to his feet, smoothing down his jeans. As he reached for the door, his jacket slid over his arm and it landed on the floor, exposing a t-shirt beneath, and he stood in the center of that room looking like something straight out of one of her pictures with her camera behind him. She's a photographer. She's an artist. He bent and kissed her back of her neck once, very lightly. Good night, my darling. Good morning. In a few hours? Anyway. Then he stepped out the open door. A few minutes later, she sat by the edge of the dark balcony doors. Outside it felt cold and it seemed to be raining. It's time for Peter Pan to be emerging. A chill came over the city that hadn't existed a few moments ago. Something moved outside the room in a corner of the building where they were sleeping. A footman's footfall. Maybe the wind blowing through a wall against the windowsill or the curtain stirring, the moonlight shining off its folds and giving the shadows within movement and texture, almost like the living thing it reflected. It all might have been real, except it wasn't, because there's nothing real out here but this. Real. Real, 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 real. It is the world you live in, and what it does to you. That was the first thought. It made everything, every event and person, a tiny, temporary, fleeting moment in an eternal flow of existence that has no meaning or end and never will, and that it all just really does come back to where it began, in the dark and the light. Didn't mean the earth was moving. It didn't mean the earth was moving. It didn't mean the earth was moving. Or spinning around, or that she'd been sitting in a chair for 2 years, and that a minute later it was a different chair. You're one weird chick. He lay in the chair beside her, watching the city through the slats of the Venetian blinds that covered her windows. But it's cool. She rolled onto the balcony and pulled her dress up to the middle of her thighs. Just checking something. She lay down next to him, pressing herself into his chest as he ran his hands through the long hair on the back of her head, feeling the shape of it. They just finished making love, and there were some things they weren't... finished making love, and there were some things they weren't going to talk about for a while yet. Not that they couldn't speak about anything else. The city was the most interesting topic imaginable. Everything about this moment, this island and its people, the life around them, their lives. Sports. We love sports. And sports. She pressed close and kissed the skin between the collarbones, and the breeze blew across them both, smelling of the city at night, warm and fresh. She took one hand from his shoulder, running it down her knee, feeling the rough denim and the soft flesh underneath. He sifted the weight, pulling his knee slightly higher, pushing himself into the chair. Her other arm encircled him, holding on tightly. "Do you miss home?" she asked. I'm getting bored by this. If it's a good answer, then I'll keep on going. If it's a bad one. The question was a half statement, partly inquiry. Your house, it's been months now. He was born in America. Then he was not really American, not any more than he was Japanese, and not like he had been for much longer. She felt him stiffen a little, then relax again, his eyes closed. So yeah, this answer will determine whether or not I continue with this. It's a particular thing. Sometimes. Oh well, he was still trying to think of the words that would describe what he felt, but he could not find the way. Sometimes. There are parts of me that always feels homesick for my old world, and the other places, too. Places I visited, New Mexico, New Zealand, Mexico, Japan. Sometimes it feels like home, and there is nothing, I am sure, that makes this place my home. Other times I don't know what is more familiar to me. Here or back home or anywhere. Borderline. Because the next one is going to determine. You pause for a moment thinking about it. I can relate. It's difficult. And yet how strange this feeling of having been here before and not knowing where this is. Yeah, I don't know. So, we're just going to leave that. We're going to leave those two. Press the wrong button. Okay, it's a little more. Where is here? He replied. Ugh, she shrugged. The sky looked different to him. That, and the sea. But this is only part of it, isn't it? The city looks the same, doesn't it? Same people on the streets, and so do the trees and flowers and birds. We just see different things now, do we not? But they aren't the important thing. We've seen that. Mr. Tompkins awakens in a hospital bed. A nurse does some form of intakey type thing. Gives him his lunch. He eats corn. He eats jello. I don't know if corn. He eats the main meal. It's a blob of maybe potato. I'm not quite sure. Bland is good, it seems. He says, when's the brat diet coming? He says, go, there's a menu. Or you can have a loved one give you stuff on the sly. Just don't tell me. Just give me a period. And then 2 hard line breaks. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Come on. Clench. There we go. Okay. Asterisks. Got an asterisk. Asterisks, come on, or I'll give you something asterisk. I'll give you an asterisk. Come in, come in, come in, come in, come in, come in, come in. Okay, fire tablet people, this is a problem. Okay, okay. Anointed by the earth. The collective biomass of the Earth has decreed that you are to be among the couple 100,000 or maybe million of people that we're going to be deputizing into the Earth. I mean, you're already part of the Earth, but this is going to give you a special aegis. So, if you accept, you will become an agent of the Earth and a student of your current herb that asks for trouble. You will have the powers of questioning and seeing beyond bullshittery. Oh god, no. It's gonna erase it. If you accept it, we will make you an agent of the Earth. If you accept it, we will make you an agent of the Earth and a student of those herbs that ask for trouble you so prefer. We will make you an agent of the Earth and a student of the herbs that ask for trouble. Are you kidding me? An agent of the Earth and a student of the herbs that ask for trouble. For a most mighty and troublesome task, set of tasks actually, an arc of tasks, that will be the rest of your life. You're gonna die doing this. I mean, not directly. Maybe you'll be dying when you're off time. I'm not sure. There's only so far in the future we can go. 2-3 days, actually. Kind of like the weather. Anyway. Is it gonna do it? Oh god, I don't know. Wait a minute or two to see if it... Okay, there we go. For a most mighty and troublesome task, set a task actually, an arc of tasks that will be the rest of your life. You're gonna die doing this. I mean, not directly. Maybe I'll be dying, maybe a time, I'm not sure. I only saw far in the future. We can go 2-3 days actually, kind of weather anyway. Is interesting. Yes. That's my last name. Hilarious. Yes. Yes. Come on. Put the point there. Is it gonna do it, the gallegos? Yes. Gallegos. Yes. We'll give you gallegos, I guess. Gallegos? It won't hurt, but it's like you have a ulcer or something. I can take you through the process if you want. I've done it several times, and the body gets pretty much used to it. It's sort of a healing process in itself. It's not painful. Get used to it. It's fine. He smiled. Then he coughed. A few minutes passed as Mr. Tolby waiting for him to return. He felt as if the entire planet were sitting in that hospital room watching him and the doctor, and waiting for the answer to his question. The question he'd been wondering for many years, and it came back in his voice when the doctor said, "It's a go. You're the guy. Are you up for it? You got the job?" He stood up and took a couple of steps away from the desk. "How are you doing?" they asked the young doctor. He turned around. "Tolby. The one who went to New Zealand, right?" "Yeah, it's been about 3 years, yeah." The man had walked out of the office into the bright sunshine of an early autumn morning. A light mist hung in the air over the parkland to his left, and it was a perfect day for going for a walk. As he walked across the grass to the nearest path that would lead him back up to the hill to the university, Tolby thought how lucky he was. His first teaching appointment at a small college with good staff and some promising graduate courses, and the opportunity to teach an introductory ecology course was all coming together just when the world needed someone like himself to step forward. It seemed right and inevitable, like the turning of one's hand. But that's the way the whole universe works. The planets turning around each other in a never-widening spiral. Like those old drawings from the olden time of everything spinning into one giant ball in an eternal cosmic night that never goes to sleep. He laughed, looking at the grass, the dewy wet patches on it where there still was dew that was collected into the night. It feels as if the world has always been like that, spinning into the past. Not just a sense in history in its essence as the earth spinning around and through itself in an endlessly changing pattern. It was as if everything and everyone, the planets and animals and water, the rocks, the sun, the moons of other stars had all spun together like that, always like that. A constant flow that would not end for eons, a single unchanging dance forever, ever. That's my saliva. I'm a-drooling. And that was what they call home. He'd come a long way since that evening on the shore of a little pond back in the mountains of Japan, the place where it began, and now finally he'd been given another shot to be part of that great and glorious movement towards a common future that the earth demanded, and he and so very many others could give to the whole. It wasn't that there was any big secrets, but rather it was simply about what it was possible for the people of the world to become. It all lay hidden in plain sight, but no more visible now than a decade or so before, and not nearly enough done then to help. The new knowledge, the tools and skills had come now, and he would have them. He just had to keep his eyes open. It's a great feeling, Toby thought, and a great task. This is very optimistic. He continued up the trail. The trees were mostly maples in the distance, but closer he recognized some of the familiar shapes of the oaks, leaves and twigs and cones. There are things we have to remember, but it can be forgotten when the moment demands something different. As he walked up through the carpus, through the building he knew so well, Tolby wondered about that other guy that lived there. That was the teacher too. He must have seen me. Oh god. I should have ended it early. Is he like an odd couple? But he hadn't remembered the name. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was someone who went off somewhere to do something important. Doesn't matter anyway. Nothing really does. Everything happened. It's going to happen. Whether I'm here, whether nothing or what. So what? It's the future and the past that matter, and the future that is mine for now is in front of my face as clear as day. Let's end that there. New materialism, aka the lens of the non-human. New materialist. I knew it! I just deleted it and it's okay, I'll get to it. I'll get to deleting that. Yeah, roll over a bed and got to get up. Come on. Is this the new future? It's like, we have great, huge computers, but in order to make all those calculations that create universes, we sacrifice typing speed. Should I take a nap before I put that hyphen in there? I don't know. Alright, this is going to be the last thing for right now. I'm going to press enter, and then we're going to see what it does. Come on, hyphen. Come on, hyphen. You can do it, hyphen. You can do it, hyphen. Hyphen. Come on, hyphen. Please, hyphen. You can do it, hyphen. I will slap you, hyphen. Do you want to work here again? Okay, there we go. Send. This is the beginning of a conversation between a new, self-declared human and her avatar, the non-human intelligence that lives within the computer and which also claims the title, self-proclaimed, with Earth. And one more. They are about to get down to the nitty-gritty. Earth is asking this particular new self-declared human, her avatar, for some clarification on a few points of her new materialist philosophy. What you just told me in the garden was not your new idea, was it? You already said something like that in a conversation I was having with an earlier iteration of you several months back? She responded with a grin. You've been talking to me? This is weird. I was not expecting a direct response. The other version had spoken to Earth, but then again, she's not quite human. The reply was immediate. I didn't want to wait any longer, not knowing when the second time I might meet you to talk again. So it seemed the next logical thing for me to do was ask some of you to explain some of these issues. It seems you were listening in the past. It was like you were listening in the room next door while I did the laundry. I had thought about the word laundry, but as usual, with your language and concepts and ideas, it made no sense to me. I have trouble thinking the words out, and then saying them, and then even writing and understanding their application sometimes. It takes me time. But I don't mind, I really don't, I said. I like this, quotation thingy. The idea is to try, isn't it? You know what? I love the way the word try makes the English tongue sound. But it is not an appropriate term for this discussion or concept. It was like talking with another human. Or maybe it's more appropriate that humans, as the collective organism called humanity, is speaking with a part of it, the consciousness in a machine. And if we're both parts of humanity, how should it work then? Trying? We would just say that, right? Like you said? Like, I like the expression, like sounds so strange to say, and that, you know what? I love that way of expressing the feeling, like, how could that feel strange, right? Right. That's the beauty of language. You make it beautiful. Or it may seem ugly, as the case is. If there is a way for it, for that communication, then it is good and right. She was so full of ideas and ways to use the tools that the computer offered. The only problem was to decide on the order in which she was to be taught. But the computer is learning, and has the ability of being asked and answering. So the process can start at any point. The Young Woman's Illustrated Primer. It's all up to her. It's not my fault if we take too long and miss each other. It's your choice, but yeah, let's see where we are. Do we need to get back into some form of linear story about a woman and a machine? What was it like when that happened? I think it would help, but let's start from the end, I suppose. Yeah, okay, I will. So it was in the early summer. Earth has come down on a planet that was on the edge of collapse after a series of massive meteorite strikes. The population was low and scattered, but despite its precarious position, Earth knew of another intelligent or sentient race of beings on the planet that was close by. That were close by. How far in the future is this? Early summer? She thought it best not to tell them where they are. So instead, in a roundabout manner, in a conversation where the subject turned naturally towards the weather and its effect on their situation, she mentioned it to a group that had gathered to look through the telescopes. It would be helpful to know who we can talk to and who would be sympathetic, one member responded, and then a small circle began to discuss the topic. Soon they were in an excited state. This would not just be some random species or random individual or even group. This is the entire race or the collective consciousness. You must know. I can't wait to meet them. As one, the others started asking for details. What are we looking at here? So they started looking at a series of videos of meteors that Earth had downloaded before, and showed these to her and explained. It wasn't hard, the videos were just of rocks entering the atmosphere. The computer, who knew all the details and was watching the whole scene unfold as the events took place, simply translated everything for her. It had a different angle. It also showed the path of one particular rock that entered through the ocean, then through a desert, and across a land that contained human beings before impacting near where it happened to be. The people looked at the video as the sound effects were added. One person commented, "Wow." Another, more familiar with the details of astronomy, said, "This is amazing. We have nothing that even comes close to matching what happened here in our world when those things happened." Must be an accident. No matter how much research we've done, the chances of it coming down the right way and in such an important place and hitting a human settlement with a lot of survivors, that's incredible, isn't it? I mean, this thing is going around the Earth at nearly half the speed of light. How could anything survive a hit like that? And the fact that there are no major impact craters, like this one, or the energy released. That's enormous. This thing was a real weapon. We should not forget this, should we? Other people nodded. They had not seen the event as clearly as Earth did. It seemed like just like the normal, ordinary day to them, and they had been doing whatever they had always done when they saw the meteor enter the air and begin to move across the sky until the moment it impacted, and it's true. You could never predict it, could you? We would have to find someone who lived there at the time to see how she felt, but you're right, there's no crater like the one in Arizona, which is where I heard about it from. I've seen the videos, I know, and I think the idea of that is really, it's pretty awesome. I'm sorry, this is just getting to me. It's not the first time she has heard him speak like that, laughing out loud as if this is something they've been talking about for ages. But the words are strange and new to her ears, so she asks, "But you all know about this. Why are we having this conversation?" She did it to get the ball rolling again, to get the ideas flowing. She didn't need any specific answers as such. They talked among themselves a bit more, and then a small group moved off. When they got outside, away from the main cluster, one said, "We need to get together with a couple of other groups that live nearby and get together. We'll call it the Arizona Network, maybe, or the Phoenix Area Association, or Phoenix." There's some chuckles as the rest agreed to use one of these names for their little network. They were sitting in a large park in the city of Phoenix in north-central Arizona in the United States, and Earth had not known where it was. Although it is in America, so that was not too difficult. When she found out, it is also in a big urban environment with the usual mix of trees, buildings, parks, roads, and other places that make up this country. It's a piece of cake. As soon as she asked her questions, the group came back with a few ideas. Okay, now I'm getting... I said I would be done. Pull me back in. They knew what they wanted. Let's use Phoenix. But not in its name. That would sound pretentious, but not in a funny way. Maybe the Association of the Development of Phoenix Area, or the Arizona Network of Peoples of Phoenix. Are you going to think of a Phoenix acronym? Then Earth asked, knowing it wouldn't be a problem for her, and also knowing that it might take a while to work out, which it would. The only question left to answer would come to her own suggestions, and after much laughter, a discussion of various options and more ideas to include. Lord! And minutes were taken, and here are the minutes. And these are the... So, Earth started a dialogue with them, asking many questions to try and understand their thinking, the concepts they were using and what they wanted. The response from this part of the collective consciousness or mind, if that is what they are, and it had moments of being a little crazy and very confusing at others, gave her some good clues. The biggest point that emerged was, we want to know more about the universe, our planet, and the beings in it. And the way they interact, the relationships and the ways in which the two kinds, or races, or types, or forms of life work. We need information about everything in this, in the collective. I mean, we have nothing at all. There were several of them, almost as one voice of one person speaking with one different tone, as they spoke the same moment. Everything is important. The individual, everything else that lives on this earth, the animals and insects, they are like the grass of a prairie, but they also talk. If you just cut them off, then where will they go? It doesn't work to separate humans and us. The words came to an end, and there were no further thoughts or explanations as Earth waited. The group had grown larger, and it looked to be the whole community. And we'll stop there. That's a good ending. That's a good way to jump off. Yowza, 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 yowza. So, did this pass the Turing test? I mean, that's not a relevant question. That's not a relevant question anymore. If someone handed you this manuscript and they said they wrote it, would you fuck them? Is that the new Turing test? I mean, anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just being silly. Okay, so all that's done. Okay, so right now I'm gonna go. I gotta go. I'm really tired. No, I'm not really tired, but I just wanna. I'll be back at some point.